Some of the views expressed on the Mormon Channel are solely for the education and inspiration of our audience and may not represent the official position of the Church.
We believe in God, the Eternal Father.
We believe in the Bible to be the Word of God.
We believe in being honest, true, chaste, benevolent, virtuous.
We believe that
and
through the
doing good
atonement
to all
of
men.
Christ, all mankind
We
will be
also
saved
believe the
by
Book of Mormon to be the Word
law.
of God.
We may say that we follow the admonition of Paul. We believe all things. We hope all things. We have endured many things.
Welcome to Why I Believe. My name is Rick Starr, and we are in Arizona this week talking with members of the church who are here in Arizona. And today we have some special guests, Joe Tenney and John Beener, and a third member who's not with us today, who is Richard Talbot, who wasn't able to make it. These three brethren make up the group they call 3-2U, which is a singing group here in Arizona who's become quite popular, and they have a wonderful sound. I'm excited to have them on the program. I've known these brethren for years and excited to hear about your stories. Thank you for being here, Joe and John.
Well,
Thank you
thanks.
so much.
Thanks. It's good to be here and appreciate you having us.
You bet. And as we go through the program today, Richard not being able to be with us today, maybe you can fill in a little bit of the gap there and tell a little bit of his story as well. But I've worked with both of you in the Easter pageant. We've all been in the Easter pageant together many years ago, and I remember John as the centurion, and Joe, I remember your family being in. You were one of the narrators, actually, weren't you?
They still have me there.
Are you still doing that?
Still am. Yes.
Oh, that's great, because you've got a great voice. I know that.
13 years now.
Really?
It's been a real blessing. It really has.
Oh, that is wonderful. And I remember in my old stake here, John, you played a role in. We had. Do you remember this? That one year they had that thing where you walked through. It was for non-members to walk through, and you played a role in that. It was a silent role, but you were acting something.
Is that right? You know,
Do you
I'm having
remember
a
that?
hard time. I remember in our stake we did a huge thing on the atonement. And I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
That might
but
be it.
I had my whole family in that with me.
Oh, really?
Played one of the lepers, the leper that actually came back and.
Oh, that's what it was. Yes.
Okay.
I remember that.
Thanked the Lord for the miracle that had been performed for him. But anyway, that's a great memory. That's been a while.
Yeah, that was a big stake thing, and I remember doing that, really unifying, a lot of fun.
It was.
It was very, very great. Joe, let's start with you.
Sure.
We're going to hear the 3-2U story a little bit later, but I want to get to know each of you a little bit first. So what is your upbringing? Where did you come from? Were you raised here in Arizona?
You know, I was. I've actually lived here in Gilbert for about 26 years, so I guess I'd have to call Gilbert home.
Uh-huh.
But my mother was born in Snowflake. My father was born in Alpine, Arizona, here. And I'm actually fifth-generation Arizonan.
Oh, wow.
So
that sounds like pioneer heritage to me.
It is. We two of my great-great-grandfathers were some of the original settlers coming in. Warren Reed Tenney was commissioned by Brigham Young to bring this sawmill out of Mount Trumbull, where they had cut the timbers for the St. George Temple, bring it down to the Mormon Lake area near Flagstaff. And there they cut all of the timbers for the Little Colorado River settlements. And then another great-great-grandfather, Jacob Hamblin, who discovered Lee's Crossing there with the help of the Hopi Indians, who was later John D. Lee, who created Lee's Crossing, Lee's Ferry there. And,
right.
And so we have deep roots in Arizona. We love Arizona. And my mother was born in Snowflake there back in 1914. So I was thinking the other day that all of my grandparents were born in the 1800s. It makes me sound that old, but, but I'm connected there. But my earlier memories started there in Snowflake. The time I was born, I was my mother's 14th pregnancy. I was the youngest of 8 children that had lived, and then 6 miscarriages that was there. But my parents had gone through a pretty rough divorce, and so they were divorced just shortly before I was born. And then there were still 6 kids living at home that my mother raised. But as I thought back on those years, and as I think back on it, I can never remember a single time of ever wanting, or I was thinking the other day when I was filling out a profile on Mormon.org.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. Good for you.
I was thinking about it, that the thought crossed my mind, I have never not known the church is true. I've always known. And certainly I've got to give that a lot of credit to a mother who taught me, nurtured me, loved me. And then an amazing story where my parents actually get back together 23 years later. And that's a story for maybe for another time. I don't know. But
that's incredible. That's a wonderful story.
But they did, and ended up serving 3 missions together, and it's really quite a miracle. And my parents are heroes. Mm-hmm. But I'm thankful for that heritage, maybe that blood that it runs deep in my veins from people that settled Arizona as well as helped build the church, that I've always known the church is true. I've never doubted. I can never remember a time that I've ever doubted or wondered, which I think is a blessing, and I'm grateful for that. But I lived in Heber for all through my junior high and high school years. This is Heber, Arizona.
Yeah. Well, let's give our while we're talking about this, let's give our listeners just kind of an idea of where Snowflake and Heber are. Snowflake is in eastern Arizona.
That's correct. About 135 miles northeast of Phoenix Mesa area.
Mm-hmm. And there's a temple there now, but it back when you're talking about it was a small farming community, wasn't it?
That's right. Yep. And same with Heber, little small communities. They didn't have a high school in Heber, and so we would ride the bus every day. Heber is about 30 miles west of Snowflake, between Payson and Snowflake.
And this is up in a little bit of a higher country than what we think of as Phoenix and Mesa.
That's right.
Up on the rim.
Up in the mountains there.
Yeah.
And so we would ride the bus every day in high school. You know, we'd get up early in the morning, hop on the bus, go to Snowflake, go to high school there, and if you played any sports, then you were late getting home about 7 or 8 o'clock at night. Oh. But as kids, we didn't know better. We just loved it and enjoyed it. But I grew up there and served a mission in Florida Tampa Mission, and I was living in Heber at the time I was called to serve there. Then when I got home from that mission, I went immediately up to BYU and was up there for 4 years. And had some great experiences up there. That's where I had the opportunity to be in Young Ambassadors there, under the direction of Randy Booth, and great mentor, individual that I highly admire, and just can't speak highly enough of. And then got married right after that, and after 4 years at BYU, moved down to Gilbert, and we have been here ever since. And that's how I've met John Beener and Richard Talbot, living here in Gilbert, and how we got connected as a trio.
And you guys have been long-term friends, 20 plus years, probably.
We had. When we first moved down here, we were just 2 years there in Mesa, and then when we had our first child, my wife and I, and then we moved here to Gilbert. I remembered Richard from one of my design engineering classes there with Tolman was the instructor at the time, the professor there at BYU. And Richard moved down here to Gilbert, working for Motorola, which I didn't know, and so we ended up being in the same ward, which was kind of a coincidence. And so we thought that was a pretty neat thing. And he was the choir director, and he kept trying to get me to come to choir, and of course I was always too busy. And then John moved into the ward, and so then he was working on both of us to get us to come to choir.
All three of you are in the same ward. That's
cool. You know what? It was just a coincidental thing. We'd all done a small little Gilbert Fine Arts production of Les Miserables, and we weren't in the same ward at that time. And then later on, I ended up moving into that ward and recognized these guys from being in that production. And somebody from our Relief Society presidency said, "Hey, we need a special musical number." I think they asked Richard to put it together, and they included me for whatever reason. And we went over to Richard's house and went through, and that was the first song we ever worked up was a song called Three Kings. Michael McLean version of Three Kings. And so we did that and performed it for the ward, and we thought it sounded pretty good, and others thought that it sounded even better than we thought it sounded. So we kind of kept getting asked to perform, and it just kind of grew from there.
Oh, yeah.
But
and it's really a great sound. John, you were actually raised right here in the valley here, weren't you?
Yeah, born. My folks are both from Salt Lake.
Oh, okay.
My dad's more of the black sheep of the family. When he came home from his mission, he moved down here and expanded a company that his father had in Salt Lake, a precast concrete company. Scottsdale Steak, 18th Ward. Great days and great times growing up over there. A lot of good close friends that I still maintained. And then the middle of my senior year, we'd always been raised around livestock. We've had horses, and the opportunity came to move to Gilbert. And my sister, I remember, was dating a fellow that she was hoping to get asked to be married to soon, and she didn't want to move to Gilbert. She thought that if she moved all the way out to Gilbert, that her fiance or her boyfriend wouldn't follow her out. So she was kind of dragging her feet, but everybody else was kind of in accord with moving to Gilbert, just so that we could have our livestock close by. When we were living in Scottsdale, always had to lease property to keep the livestock around, and so it was always kind of a chore to ride and do that kind of thing, but having them close to us out in Gilbert, that was kind of the draw. So we moved out to Gilbert, and anyway, that was the middle of my senior year in high school, and what a great blessing. Had great priest quorum, and again, men from that quorum that I still have close relationships with, and it was a good move for me.
Wasn't the population then about 10,000 people?
I think it was less than that. I think it was 8,600 people or something like that.
Of Gilbert.
That would have been 1979.
That's right. See, when we moved in '86, I think it was just barely over 10,000 population in Gilbert. There were still a lot of dirt roads just south of Elliott there, and now what are we, around 250,000, something like that?
Yeah.
Right. We were near Greenfield and Elliott, and everything pretty much south of Baseline was dirt.
That's right.
When you were in Mesa, everything was paved, and everything south of Baseline Road was dirt roads.
Yeah.
Gilbert Road and a few other ones had some pavement, but
Yeah, I remember riding bikes on dirt roads out there, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's changed. It's changed a lot. This little town grew up fast.
And did you go on a mission, John?
I did. When I was 19, got called on a mission to West Virginia.
Oh.
So it was that was hillbilly speaking.
Was that a foreign language?
That was from 1980 to 82 is where I served in the mission field. And, one of the interesting things that happened to me in the mission field is when they came out with the policy that missions would be cut short to 18 months. And I'd already been serving for 20 months when that came down. And my mission president basically called me and said, you can leave now, you can, just kind of pick your day when you want to leave. And I said, I was called for 24, if it's okay. I was in a great area in Logan. He said, I'd love to stay. He said, more power to you. So I ended up staying for the full 24 months and had a great mission, great testimony building 2 years.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, and John, what was your musical upbringing?
I played piano, mostly because my mom insisted when I was a kid, and was actually pretty good, and switched over to guitar when I was in high school. But I never, I performed, never did school or classes or formal training. When I got home from my mission, I went to then Ricks College, BYU Idaho now. Went to Ricks, and the summer rolled around, and they were auditioning for roles at the Plain Mill Theater in West Yellowstone, Montana. And I went and auditioned and got cast out of about, I don't know how many people cast, but they kept, I think, 15 or 16, 8 men and 8 women, and I was able to go and did the summer of '83 in West Yellowstone, Montana, doing musicals all summer long. So,
wow, what a great experience.
Yeah, and that little theater is still there. My folks have got property in Idaho close to there, and so it's kind of a traditional thing when we're in Idaho. We'll go to West Yellowstone to
see the old stomping grounds.
Yeah, absolutely. Just that was, that's really where the whole thing kind of came together.
Yeah.
Before that, it was here and there. And then, after that, went for a number of years and did little local local theater things. But when I finally met Joe and Richard, that just seemed like it fit really well. Mm-hmm. And gosh, I've had great experiences through the years with the performing that we've done. Something that I cherish. And now it's more of a brotherhood than just friends getting together to sing. We are involved in each other's lives, and our families all get along well, and it's a special relationship.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, in Richard's absence, would one of you care to share a little bit about Richard's background, where he grew up?
I will. Richard is very talented, extremely talented individual. He plays the piano, but he is also an excellent sound engineer, and has just been involved in running sound and mixing and arranging as well. He's a very good arranger. Mm-hmm. And over the years has just developed to do some very nice things. When I think back on how we started, I think probably, in fact, Richard was the one that coined the phrase a musical ministry that the three of us have been doing, because we've never really ever had any opportunity to really go much more out of Gilbert. We've just been, yet we still are here we are 18 years later, still singing together for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's just to bless our lives, I don't know. But through, when we got together, as John had mentioned earlier, Richard would always try to get us to sing in the choir, and we finally did. And then when we put that little musical number together, it just clicked. So we decided, we pulled all of our money, and we went out and we bought a little Session 8 program and some computers and got that going. And Richard developed that, and we put together that first album, that Three Kings album that we did quite a while back, and actually had really good success with that. So we decided to start a second project.
And this has been years and years and years ago, because I remember the first time going to Richard's home to rehearse. He had a huge, big, black kind of grand piano, and on the top of it was a reel-to-reel, and then a couple of microphones, off to the side. And so I remember afterward, I went home and I went, "Honey, you can't believe all this guy's equipment. He's got a reel-to-reel."
Well, anyway. And reel-to-reels these days are a thing of the past, aren't they? Everything's done on computers these days.
Of the past, but
it started from there, in just this humble beginning out of just in his living room there. And as we developed that, we decided to try a second project. Mm-hmm. And we had started to put together some music that was non-Christmas, because that first album was a Christmas album. And we weren't very far into that when Richard found out that he had lymphoma cancer. Was diagnosed, and in fact, John and I happened to be at the hospital the day he found that out up there in Scottsdale. We had gone up there with him. And it was a very sobering, very heart-wrenching day, because it was a very aggressive, one of their 13 or more forms of lymphoma cancer, and this is one of the most aggressive. And the prognosis was not good.
How many years ago was this?
I'm going to say...
Well, Annie's 12. So Shelley was pregnant with Annie when that happened. So
it took us
12 years.
It took us 13 years to finish that album.
Oh, okay.
Because of this, and there's quite a story in that, and we won't bore you to death with it. But the point is that when we found that out about Richard, it really changed everything. And so, of course, he had to go to work to save his life. Mm-hmm. And through the faith of his wife and many, many people in that stake that he lived in, and a lot of fasting and prayer, he was blessed to be healed. And for whatever the reason, the good Lord saw to keep him here, for which we're very thankful. And over the past 5 years, we were able to put together probably some of the better stuff that we have included on that album that I don't think we would have had there had we not done that. And some of the experiences that he went through, as well as John. John can tell more about it, going through a divorce there, and I went through the complete loss of a business and everything at the time. But all of this came together to kind of tie us together as three brothers, and just are still there. But we're so grateful Richard is with us.
Yeah.
Very talented man.
Yeah, he is.
And guy that we love to go out to dinner with.
If you're around him very often, he is always focused on sound. how things come across, how things are presented, how things sound, audio-wise to an audience.
How's it mixed? What are the acoustics of the auditorium?
He's passionate about that.
He really is.
Yeah.
He really is.
You had mentioned a little earlier, Joe, about him. I don't know if he coined the term, but he mentioned that it's a musical ministry. What do you make of that? What does that mean to you?
John can obviously give input on this too, but we've just been blessed to be a part of some really wonderful spiritual experiences, all centered around music, whether it be a steak fireside or a Christmas program or singing. We've been blessed that all of the years that I've been in the Easter pageant that we've been invited to sing there. And you know those devotionals, how sweet the Spirit can be in those devotionals, those pre-show devotionals.
Yeah, and we're talking, just so the audience gets an idea, these devotionals are 400 plus people each night before the concert or before the program.
All dressed in full costume and makeup.
Yeah.
In period costume and makeup, which is a setting that, honestly, I couldn't think of a more beautiful setting to sing in.
Yeah.
Around wonderful friends that have all volunteered their time to share the message of Jesus Christ. And so to sing in a setting like that, what a privilege and what a blessing. And so things like that. We've been blessed to... patriotism is another area that we've been blessed in. We've sung on the floor of the Arizona State Senate.
Wonderful.
We've been a part of some really wonderful things, and we feel it's to help make a difference for good, to lift, to benefit. And
what kind of experiences have you had with that, where you've, some of the differences that you've made, the changes that you've seen, or the
I don't know if I could pick a single one. I mean, there's performances that we've done where we've all come off and said, wow, there was, we were singing above ourselves, kind of thing. We had some help there. But I think for the most part, we've picked songs that have touched our lives one way or another. And the point is to get that same feeling to an audience. And maybe that audience is one person. or maybe it's a couple, or maybe it's 50 or 100.
There's been many people over the years that have written us or sent us emails or messages thanking us for the music and the blessings that have come to their life, or the promptings that have happened, when listening to the music or something like that. We certainly don't think it's anything because of us. We just happen to be three guys that have become more than friends, that are really more like brothers. And over the years, every song that we've ever done, we've tried to find a song that has a message, even if it's contemporary. We want it to have a song that has a positive or an uplifting message. And so maybe that's why we end up doing more firesides than anything else, just because that's what our music seems to be centered around. We do a lot of concerts, and
we do. We're careful. We're careful though, and we kind of pick and choose. It's not a birthday party act, or you know what I mean. The songs that we've picked for whatever reason are pretty spiritual in nature, and so we try to perform at those events where the Spirit can be felt easily, and hopefully we can portray that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, let me just mention that you're listening to Why I Believe on the Mormon channel of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And our guest today on Why I Believe is the three brethren from a group they call 3-2U, Joe Tenney, John Beener, and Richard Talbot, who is not able to be here with us today. He joins us in spirit, I guess you could say. One of the things I can say about knowing each of you as I do, you have wonderful harmony, but you also each have a voice that stands alone, well on its own. As I've heard your recordings, they've just been very beautiful, each one of you.
Thank you.
And is he one that arranges those, or do you work together on that, or how does that come together?
Richard's the primary arranger, and then of course we always give input, and it's worked out good that way. He has a natural knack for it, and then we'll interject, and we all three take part in that.
We do. One of the things that's great about that, because he has the ability of arranging, he'll put the arrangements together, and vocally, it's usually a consensus, kind of a thing. We'll sit down mull this over, and what do you think about that? And no, that's too high for me, and and so we'll kind of mull that over and come up with the parts, the vocal parts. And so the vocal arranging a lot of times we'll do together, which has been a treat. It's a fun thing to do.
How about your families? Are your families musical? Are they taking on the same talents and sharing those with other people?
My daughter's a very accomplished pianist. She does a wonderful job,
and her name is
Deborah Jo Borden.
So she's married.
She's married. Yes, she's our oldest daughter. And all those years of those piano lessons and piano practicing, where you just bite your tongue and don't gripe, just listen, have all paid off. She accompanies us a lot, actually.
Oh.
Also have a son that plays the piano and a daughter that plays the violin, and then all of them sing.
Mm-hmm.
It's been fun that way.
Yeah,
John's daughter,
my daughter Annie, she's the caboose of the bunch, but plays piano, sings, has a great voice, and anyway, and then I've got a son, Jeremy, older married son, Jeremy, is at BYU, Idaho, and he plays guitar, sings as well, and so anyway, the others have talent that they keep hidden under a bushel, but they all, in one way or another, they've all been musically inclined.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a neat thing.
Oh, that's great. That's wonderful. I've listened to your music, and it is really beautiful. I'd love to hear your feelings about the power of music to convey the Spirit, and the power of the music to influence emotions in people, and to draw out emotions and that kind of thing. Do you have any feelings about that you'd like to share?
I do, and it has to do a lot with our trio in my heart and in my soul. As I'd mentioned earlier, I had the opportunity to be in Young Ambassadors back in 1980 and 81, and we did a tour to all of the Scandinavian countries there. And I remember one performance. We were standing on stage and we were singing the Finnish national anthem in their language. And I'll never forget the tears that were streaming down the cheeks of this sweet little older lady that was standing she couldn't have been more than 4 feet tall, with her hand on her heart. The Spirit just bore into my soul of the power of music, and how it can break any barrier, it can break languages, it can break down hardened souls. And I've never forgotten that experience. It has stuck with me. When John and Richard and I got together, there was a connection spiritually with the three of us that we just always felt to find music that made a difference. And so that's really what patterned how we started and how we would work together in our harmony. And there were times that it wasn't always easy. We're individuals. We have our personalities, and we didn't always get along. We had to work through things. But as we did and learned how much we loved and appreciated each other, we've had some very wonderful experiences. And John alluded a minute ago, had a really wonderful experience that up there with the temple workers of the Snowflake Temple. My brother's currently serving there as the temple president in the Snowflake Temple there. And so he invited us to come up and do a fireside. And there was I'll let John share some things as well, but we had some wonderful experiences there, a very powerful outpouring of the Spirit. Again, one of these wonderful settings of all of these temple workers who work in one of the most spiritual, beautiful places on earth, and for us to be up there and to be a part of that, there were some great experiences that we had.
Yeah, like you say, I mean, a lot of it has to do with the setting. When you've got a whole group of people from the Easter pageant, like Joe said, who are there giving of their time and of their talents and sharing their testimony of Christ, their hearts and intents are already in the right place, and you stand before them and sing, you can't help but feel uplifted, by that. So same kind of experience when we were in the Snowflake. This was just a fireside that Joe's brother Lewis had wanted us to come up and perform for. They invited all the temple workers from that area to come. So the whole the chapel and overflow was filled with pure people of real intent and
Very powerful spirit there.
There really was, and that's the kind of thing where whenever you have discouraging times or think, wow, is it all worth it? Those are the kinds of experiences that say, I'd do that again no matter what.
Rick,
just give me the opportunity.
Always we come out of those, the ones that benefited the most.
Mm-hmm.
When we're around people like that, we always come out of there going, wow, what a blessing, what a gift to us.
Right.
It just can't say that enough.
Oh, that's incredible. In the Strength of Youth booklet, we teach a lot about music and entertainment to our children. And those standards they're there for a reason, I think, because of the power of music, as you have talked about. What are your feelings about the standards of music that we try to hold to?
It's
of the power of music.
It's interesting, isn't it, how there's always opposites. And when you can take something so sweet and so pure as music and the Spirit, and Satan can take a hold of that and twist it and turn it into something that is completely the opposite. I love the fact that the church has that standard, and that we try to teach that to our youth. It's very, very difficult on the airwaves today, contemporary airwaves, to find things that are appropriate. I mean, I think we need to be as involved as we can at pushing forth things of worth, things that are worthwhile.
It was Spencer W. Kimball. I remember this clearly because I've always kidded a lot of people that I grew up in the 70s where music really began to be real. You can argue all you want about Elvis and rock and the Beatles and how all of that got, but it was in the 70s when it all began to mature with the technology, when they got beyond 8-track tapes and some of that, but there was still a little bit of a standard. But then it began to degrade in some areas. And I remember Spencer W. Kimball coming out and saying, please watch what you listen to. And I remember going through some of my albums. And as I listened to some songs on there, I thought, you know what? They're saying some things there that I should probably not listen to. And so, I thought, well, I could give these albums to somebody because I paid good money for them, but then I thought, well, I can't give something bad to somebody. So I got rid of them. It was not easy, but it's been a blessing to me since because it's helped me to be very keenly aware of lyrics. And you can have some really great beats. You'll listen to a song on the radio today, and it is really a great song. And then you get to listening to the lyrics, and you're going, can't do it. Got to get rid of it. And that, I think, and John will agree with this, that applies to a lot of genres of music, not just rock and roll, but pop and country. There are songs that have inappropriate lyrics that you have to look at and say, you know what, the Lord, would I be listening to that if the Savior were here?
Right. I was, that brings to mind something I experienced a few years ago when I was looking on a service on the internet that distributes music, and they distribute the top 100 songs for each year, or they list the top 100 songs, and they list also to the side the explicit, which ones are explicit in their lyrics. And it's interesting to note that in the early 2000s, in that top 100, there were a few. And then a few years later, I think it was maybe 4 years later, I counted 32 out of 100. And so it is something that certainly we all have to really be on the lookout for, don't we?
Yeah, we really do.
Yeah.
We really do. Satan is a crafty one. Just like Joe says, you might think that a song is very appealing until there's some further investigation, and you say, "Oh man, that was."
I'll tell you right now,
sly.
For me personally, there are songs that I heard in junior high that I can tell you all the lyrics. As soon as that song plays 3 or 4 notes, I can tell you what the song is, who the artist is. Music has a huge power and effect on us, good or bad, depending on how that music is crafted and put together. It's a force, incredible force.
Isn't that interesting that you could remember the lyrics from something back in high school or junior high?
Yeah,
but
for me,
how
that
many
was 200 years ago. That's an accomplishment.
But if somebody asked you to remember some math theorem or something like that, would you be able to call that to mind? And it is because what you said, the music has such a powerful effect. And when lyrics are put to music, they certainly remain with us, don't they?
Right.
So
Yes, sir.
it has been wonderful to have you on the program. I do. Your music is beautiful, and I'm sorry that Richard couldn't be here with us today to share some of his experiences as well. I know that he has endured well his lymphoma, and is certainly a great talent, a great musical talent. So
Thanks very much for having us.
please
we
give
appreciate
our
it.
regards to him.
We will, and we appreciate you having us, giving us an opportunity to.
Before we close today, would you mind, since the program is called Why I Believe, would each of you share a little bit about your thoughts about the gospel of Jesus Christ and the role it plays in your life? John.
I was thinking about this a little bit today, thinking about what I might say. And one of the things that I think I cherish the most about this gospel is the hope that it provides. When you think about all the turmoil and trouble and strife that is in the world today, it is easy to get consumed by all of that and think of despair and think of no way out and think of destruction. But one of the things that I love about the gospel the most is that it provides hope. That there is a Savior, that He lived and walked this earth, that He suffered and died and rose again, and because of Him, there is hope. We don't have to get bogged down and caught up in all this despair. Living through it is one thing, but having it be the core of your thoughts is another thing, and it's beautiful to have thoughts of the Savior and a testimony of the Savior at the core to give you hope. Hope is what I would hang my hat on as far as what the gospel means to me. Right.
Thank you. Thanks so much, John. Joe.
Well, Rick, as I think over the years of many experiences that have touched my heart and confirmations of the Spirit that this church is true, I am humbled and very blessed to know that Jesus is the Christ, that this gospel is true, that there's not any facet or part of it that I do not believe in. As I think of Jesus Christ, the term, the giver of all good gifts, comes to my mind. And as I look into my life and all of the things that I have been blessed with, I can't even begin to list the gifts that Christ has been so kind to give to me. Gifts of loving parents, gifts of friendship and brotherhood that are priceless, gifts to get to associate with very talented people and to rub shoulders with some of God's finest, whether it be serving in a church calling or singing in a concert. I'm just humbled by it all, that I get to be a part of so many wonderful things and wonder, what have I done that the Lord would be so kind to me? Yes, life is difficult. I've had my share of struggles, and I'm sure there'll be more things that will be tests that will come into my life. But I know that Christ is there and that He desires to help us in every way that He can. He's been there. He's trodden the winepress alone. He has gone through every single experience that we could ever imagine. And all of it is to help us because He loves us. He wants us to be happy. He wants us to be a part of good things. He wants us to have happiness in our lives. And it's in and through Him that brings that happiness. And I'm grateful for that. Grateful for all of the blessings and gifts He's given me, that I can be a part of these things.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much. We really appreciate you both being with us today. John Beener, Joe Tenney, and Richard Talbot, who was not able to be here with us today, but also an intricate part of the 3-2U musical group. And it's been great to have you with us today. Thanks for sharing your testimonies and your stories.
Thank you.
Thanks. You've been listening to Why I Believe on the Mormon Channel. of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. For more information about Why I Believe or other programs on the Mormon Channel, please go to mormonchannel.org. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.